Well, we've been working on something real special here. This is a 1954 International pickup. She's been off the road for about 30 years. We pulled her out of a barn, we got her stripped down, and now she's getting ready for a 12-valve Cummins. And this is our first gen Cummins. Well, it was a first gen. It had holes in the bed, body, and frame, so she's just about shot. We pulled her out of a swamp after she sat there for 15 years and we got her running. And this is gonna be our donor. Now, it's sad to see a first gen go. Doing it this way helps keep both trucks alive. And well, she didn't really have much of a future with that much rust on her. So far in this project, we got a new frame for her. We shortened the frame, we painted the frame, we got all the suspension off of this old girl, and now the hard work begins. I'm Brody, we have Madeline behind the camera. This is Stuart's garage, and let's get this old girl back on the road. Oh my God, that smells awful. Ooh. Ooh, that's not good. Got a lot of metal on our magnet there. Besides that, it looks pretty good in here for sitting 15 years in a swamp.
How should I? Just keeps going.
Just set it down. This axle that we've been taking apart is the Dana 70 out of that first gen in the yard. That's barely a first gen anymore, but we're gonna go through it, refresh it, redo all the bearings, brakes, everything. This is gonna be a brand new axle. So let's get back to it.
My microphone doesn't even work.
What do you mean?
Hello, hello.
Oh, you turned.
Hello?
You gotta hold the power button. It might not have turned on.
If a roach comes out.
I'd be very impressed if a roach came out of this thing.
I got it. Help.
You.
Ugh. Look at.
There we go. She just need a little persuasion. Oh, wow, that's heavy. Well, this is what the inside looks like. If you want to know your gear ratio and you're in here, you can just count your teeth. This one has 13 teeth. And then you count the teeth on this old girl. So 46 divided by 13. And closest one is 52. We're not going to keep doing long division here. So it's got 354 gears in the rear end. Honestly, so far looking at these, they are looking really good. No missing teeth, no chips. All the bearings besides the wheel bearings look pretty good. They feel great. The races look awesome. Not too much to complain about here. So when we took this thing apart, inside the diff cover, you guys noticed that there were some metal shavings inside of it. That's actually because this thing has friction discs inside of it. There's always going to be a little bit of that material in there, and that's why these diffs don't last forever. You have to rebuild them. Looking at how much metal was in there, I'm probably going to have to replace those friction plates. And then your friction plates are in each half. The other half's over here. You take this big gear out. Then underneath are going to be your friction plates. Yeah, we're definitely going to have to replace these plates. You guys can see the metal. There's no more material on that thing at all. And then another plate. A tiny bit of material on here. It's about to be on bare metal. You can feel a lip there. And then it works like a sandwich like that. But yeah, we're going to have to replace these. We got to get this greasy girl out of the barn so we can wash her off. We got this rear axle cleaned up, but there's still a little bit that we got to do to it. We got a clip right here. This is it. She's kind of rusty. She ain't looking too good. We're going to go ahead and replace her. The rest of them are looking pretty good. And it looks like we're not going to have to touch any of them. This is our welding cart. It's made out of an old, kind of like drywall cart, heavier duty than that, 3,000 pound capacity. It's got a plasma cutter on it, AC/DC multi-process welder, got an oxy and acetylene bottle on it. All the stuff for it is in this cabinet. 75% argon bottle, 100% argon bottle. Got this all cleaned up. Let's tack her on there. Well, turns out that I'm out of gas for my MIG, so we're gonna take it. We got this old girl wire wheel. She's looking a lot better. There's still some parts that we need to hit with the sandblaster just because I couldn't get up in there. And around these clips and up in these corners and stuff. But overall, this old girl's looking pretty good. She had some gnarly pitting right there that I had to knock off with the wire wheel. But besides that, this whole thing's in pretty good shape for sitting in a swamp 15 years. We got this old girl sandblasted. We're running out of daylight and we need to get this old girl painted. This paint takes 24 hours to cure until you can put on the next coat. So we got to get this done tonight. So let's get back to work. This blasting cabinet has been a savior on this project. My old man bought it for me because he was watching me sandblast stuff outside, just making a huge mess for a bunch of small parts. He bought it for me. I did a few mods to it, and he got me a dust collection device. It's just a shop vac and then leads to a 5-gallon bucket down there. It works really, really good. So thankful for my old man. This project would not have been as easy without this thing. Something cool about this press that I've been using, you guys can see it's very clearly handmade. This is not something you just bought. This old girl was actually made by my grandpa and my great-grandpa many, many moons ago. And well, she's still getting used. She did have a really bad leak on this hand pump here. Well, that hand pump down there on the ground. Changed her out for this one and she's working good. So. Finally got most of the stuff painted. I'm still taking care of the steering linkage arm. I'm doing that off camera. I've showed you guys enough painting and sandblasting and wire wheeling. Got our control arms, sway arm, starting to pre-assemble everything. Get our bolts into where they're supposed to be, just to make it easier once we actually get out there and start wrenching on the old gal. I wasn't looking forward to this, but these are the leaf springs off of that truck. They weren't sagging when it was on it. Granted, there wasn't a load on it, but I think I can reuse these. Good idea would probably be to buy a new set, but when do I ever have a good idea? First order of business is getting these bushings out. There's a lot of different ways you can do them. You can drill them, cut them, but I'm going to torch them. So there's a lot of black coming out of that. So you give it a little bit more until it's clearing up. And add oxygen to it. You want to try to heat up the inside first. Starts to go out. Throw a punch on it. Comes right out. This really ain't the best way to push in these bushings, but you deal with what you got. I can't really manhandle these through the shop to get them to the press, so. We still got to drive out these outer races for this rear axle here. So I'm going to take an air hammer, punch this one out. There's one underneath it. Let's get to work. So I'm driving this race in for the pinion bearing, and I do not have the correct size for this. It kind of sits in there. It's probably going to scratch up the face a little bit, but what you can do, obviously it'd be better to have the tool. This is the old race. You guys can see the finish is real messed up. That's because it's been on a bench grinder for the last couple minutes, going around in a circle. So hopefully I can use this as a spacer onto here. I'm going to use the flat part until it gets close and then flip it over. Hopefully this part won't get stuck and we can drive it in and we don't mess nothing up. Now this is hard metal on hard metal, so just be careful when you're tapping. You don't want to deform your good one. Big thing is making sure that you put these in the right spot, because these are dished. They have an apex in the middle here. I don't know if you could call it an apex, but it's a curve, and then it's like a bowl if you turn it this way. We got the diff here, and she's almost ready to go. We just have to put a couple shims and double check everything. So the shims on this old girl, the spacers, go underneath the bearings. So that's why we grinded out these bearings. That way I can double check that we have our spacing right without having to press our bearings on and off. And if they're good, just keep the same spacers in there and just press on the new bearings. Recreated our old spacers. If I was smarter, I would have taken better care of these when I took them apart. But that's all right. We got them here. We've got a pretty decent contact patch here. It's leaving enough at the top of the tooth. It's not too far down. It's pretty centered. These two gears have already worn into each other, so it's looking really good. There we go. Ooh. Wow. Pull the trigger slowly. Yep.
Oh.
And as soon as it clicks, you're good.
You want it to click?
Mm-hmm. Not too much though, that's the hammering.
I don't think it's...
There you go.
Good.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Good?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's nice.
Then we're doing the same thing that we did before.
Let's see. Oh my God.
Trying to get it.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You didn't mean it.
There we go. Good?
Mm-hmm. There we go.
I can't see. There we go. I think.
Get your hand up. Yeah. So this is your rear hub. We have a seal right there. And we need to get that seal out, but we also need to get the bearing out. So we're just gonna press them out together. There we go. So These are our front wheel bearing races, so just gotta find appropriate size driver for them, and we can slap them babies in. These are our front wheel bearing races, so just gotta find appropriate size driver for them, and we can slap them babies in. And just take your hammer, get her in there. Whenever you're working on these axles, you always want to replace this nut. It is a nylock, and with a full floating axle design, this is the only thing holding your axle in. So you want to make sure that it's got plenty of good nylock to grip it. So. Gotta get these babies tight. There we go. Well, having a hard time because there ain't no limited slip in this limited slip right now. So I'm gonna pop that axle out just so they ain't turning together, because I'm wrestling with this thing. Tractor's out of commission, so I gotta roll this thing for now. So much better. Well, it appears that I made the fatal mistake of installing one of the leaf springs in backwards. You guys can see that axle is crooked on there. And well, just gonna have to pay the stupid tax on this one and take it back apart and flip it. Well, took a long time to get here. Wheels on the ground, finally. Got a few things I gotta touch up. You guys didn't see me install the steering, waiting on parts, and they sent me the wrong U-bolts for the rear end twice. So, but besides that, she's good. Well, I got a lot more work I still gotta do. I gotta pull a 12-valve Cummins in a transmission and overhaul them. So if you guys wanna follow along, consider subscribing, and thank you guys.